Three sinister supernatural tales from haunted São Paulo revealed nightmares of the cursed city. The rain hammered against the windows, a chaotic drum roll announcing the dread that lurked just outside. In the flickering light of the diner, where Carla wiped tables with a fervor born of raw anxiety, she could feel the pulse of the city, the ominous, heart-thumping beat that vibrated just below the surface of everyday life. Every clink of a coffee cup echoed like whispered warnings of things that go bump in the night. The shadow people that Mr. Carter had woven into stories for Leo now felt less like fables and more like realities creeping close. "Keep that boy safe tonight, Carla," Mr. Carter had said only days ago, his eyes gleaming with something unsettling. "Those shadows, they're hungry." His jovial tone did little to mask the underlying menace. As she finished closing up, the storm rolled in like an ominous creature from a dark fable, a menacing growl that sent a shiver down her spine. She thought of 10-year-old Leo, left in the care of Mr. Carter, and her heart raced. She told herself time and again that the old man was simply harmless, yet her instincts gnawed at her. Something was wrong. Carla pushed the doubts aside, telling herself he was just an eccentric storyteller. "Mama, can you come home early?" Leo's voice crackled over the phone. Panic fluttered in her chest. "There's a shadow man at the window. He's whispering." She laughed it off, but the laughter felt brittle, foolish. "It's just your imagination, Leo. You know those stories Mr. Carter tells." She brushed off the dread gnawing at her. But as she hung up, the feeling that something unseen stalked them hung in the air like a thick fog. The calls began shortly after. Static-laden voices pierced the quiet of the late-night diner. Whispers, familiar yet distorted, clawed at her resolve. "Carla, protect him," they murmured. Each time she heard them, they deepened her fears. As the hours crawled, she sensed time stretching, the way shadows stretched and warped in the flickering lights. Just a few more shifts, she promised herself. But when the news broke about the missing child, her heart raced at the realization that this child, connected somehow to Mr. Carter, was just a few doors down. Panic set in. She rushed home, dread pooling in her stomach as she entered their modest apartment. The silence was deafening. "Leo?" she called, her voice trembling. No response, just the sound of her own heartbeat drumming in her ears. Then she saw him on the couch, clutching something in his small hands. It was old, dark, and intricately designed, wrapped in tattered newspaper clippings that hinted at dark history. "Mama, he said I have to keep it safe, or we'll all be lost." Before she could react, Leo's sobs twisted her stomach into knots. Just as she turned to confront Mr. Carter lurking in the hallway, his eyes were wild, filled with a fervor. That made her blood run cold. "Carla," he whispered, "Leo needs to embrace his destiny. It's our family's curse." Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she backed away. He was no longer the friendly neighbor, but a harbinger of terror, and she felt the air congeal with hostility. The shadows in the hallway seemed to whisper promises of an unspeakable fate, urging Leo toward whatever dark purpose Mr. Carter envisioned. As she grasped for the door handle, the lights flickered ominously, and in that moment, the world plunged into darkness. A whisper caressed her ears, chilling her to the bone. "He's waiting for you, Carla." A gnawing fear gripped her. What had she let in? What horrors awaited when the lights returned? The shadow shifted on the edge of her vision, ready to swallow her whole as an all-consuming mystery unfurled around them. The darkness closed in, thick and oppressive. Carla's heart pounded in her chest, her breath coming in quick bursts. She could barely hear the rain now, drowned out by the pulse of fear thrumming in her ears. "Leo," she called, desperation lacing her voice. "Where are you?" Silence answered, a sinister void thicker than the night surrounding her. Then she felt it, something cold, trailing down her spine like ice. Mr. Carter was still there, lurking just out of sight. The faint sound of shuffling echoed behind her, making her pulse spike. "Mama," Leo's voice broke through the dark, trembling and small. "I don't like it. I don't like it at all." "Just stay where you are," Carla shouted, gripping the door handle. It felt slick with something, fear, sweat, or something worse, she couldn't tell. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing the lights to flicker back on. The soft hum of electricity was supposed to be a comfort, but now it was just another reminder of how alone she was. "Carla," Mr. Carter's voice echoed, low and seductive, wrapping around her like smoke. "You must embrace it, as I did. The shadows protect us." "No!" she screamed, the word tearing from her throat. She could almost feel the shadows reaching for her, hungry, insatiable. "Leave my son alone." But the darkness only laughed, mocking her, taunting her. Carla stepped back, every inch of her shaking, and just before she turned to run, she glimpsed Leo's face illuminated by a brief flicker of lightning. His wide eyes glistened with tears, and terror twisted in her gut. "Please, Mama, help!" "Me!" That plea ignited something deep inside her. She couldn't abandon him. Not now. With a burst of determination, she flung open the door and lunged into the hallway. It was darker than before, shadows fracturing and merging as her own fear threatened to consume her. She could almost see them coiling, whispering sinister secrets just beyond her reach. "Leo!" she screamed again, every ounce of her strength channeling into that one name. "I'm coming!" She tore past the dim light of the living room, heading for Leo. Her senses heightened, the moisture in the air, the stench of decay lingering just out of sight. As she reached him, the world around her tilted erratically, shadows dancing like sirens. Suddenly, the lights flashed on, a fierce and blinding light filling the room. She squinted, staggered, and dropped to her knees. The relief was short-lived as she looked around. Mr. Carter stood there, but he was no longer simply a man. His form rippled like a mirage, the shadows embracing him, wrapping tight as if he were part of them. "You don't understand, Carla. The shadows need a vessel, and Leo, he is perfect." "I won't let you take him," Carla roared, rising to her feet. But Leo suddenly fell silent. The dark object in his hands glowed faintly, pulsating like a heart. At that moment, Carla's resolve faltered. The whispers grew louder, now filled with a cacophony of voices, chanting and pleading, pushing against her mind. Let it happen, let it happen. In a flash, the room shifted again. The shadows clawed at Carla, pulling her back into their void. "You cannot fight destiny," they screamed in unison. With all her might, Carla reached for Leo, but he seemed suspended in the dark, caught between two worlds. "Mama," he whispered again, and this time the sadness in his voice shattered her. A scream tore from her throat as she lunged forward. Desperation fueled her, but a dark force slammed into her shoulder, sending her tumbling back. "No!" she cried, knowing she had to reach him before it was too late. The shadows thickened, and she could feel them closing in, stretching and pulling her away from the feeble light. As she crawled toward her son, the air around them shifted. The ground trembled. "Protect him," a voice echoed.
A familiar voice, haunting and cold, Mr. Carter. But with one last breath, Carla pushed against the shadows, flooding herself with will. "I'll never let you take him!" Just then, Leo screamed, the sound ripping through the air like glass shattering. The light pulsed, and everything around them spun violently. Then silence fell. The shadows lingered, twisting slowly, hovering like a predator waiting to strike. Carla's breath shivered as she felt the silhouettes shift once more around her. But something was different. "Mama?" Leo's voice broke through a haze, and in that instant, hope sparked. What had been awakened? What fate now loomed close, ready to engulf them both? As Carla locked eyes with her son, she could sense an unseen force looming just beyond their grasp. Had they truly escaped? Or had something far more twisted taken root in the depths of their souls? "Leo!" Carla shouted, her voice filled with both agony and fear. The silence that wrapped around them was suffocating, thicker than the shadows. She felt disoriented, as if the ground beneath her shifted like quicksand. The air turned electric, tinged with a strange heaviness that pressed against her chest. "Mama?" Leo called again, but there was a quivering tremor in his tone now, like the faintest echo of his former self. The glow from the object he held flickered ominously, casting grotesque shadows that morphed into distorted shapes against the walls. "Stay close, I'm coming," Carla replied, scrambling through the dark like a drowning woman reaching for the surface. But the closer she got, the more the shadows twisted, sinking deep into her mind. "Embrace it, Carla," Mr. Carter's voice echoed again, rolling through her like thunder. "You cannot resist the inevitable. This is where you belong." "A part of you belongs to the shadow," another voice hissed, this one coming from the dark shape clinging to Leo. Carla's heart raced as she saw its tendrils slither around her son, tightening, pulling him into the void. "No!" She lunged forward, hands outstretched. "Get away from him!" But every step she took was like running in place, the shadows clawing at her heels, dragging her back, trying to ensnare her in their grip. "Leo!" Eyes widened with fear. "Mama, I'm scared," he cried, the sound tugging at the pieces of her heart that had yet to fracture. The glow in his hands pulsed with an intensity, like a heartbeat struggling against its fate. "Fight it, Leo! You have to fight!" Carla urged, desperate to reach him. The shadows writhed closer around her, whispering insidiously, words flooding her thoughts, guilt, despair, manipulation. It felt like drowning, suffocating in dark memories. But within the shadow, something flickered, a glimmer of recognition. Fear-shrouded faces morphed momentarily in the dark illusions, twisting into figures from her past. Loved ones lost, cries swallowed by the echoes of time. "Mama, I see them," Leo said with wide eyes, pointing at the swirling images of shadow, his voice shaky. "They want me." "No, Leo, you are stronger than this." Carla pushed through the horror, clenching her fists. She felt the warmth of her love for him igniting a spark of resistance. "We will fight together. Don't let go." As she spoke, the darkness recoiled slightly, as if realizing that she was no longer afraid, no longer an easy target. With an unshakable resolve, she steadied herself. The shadows trembled, uncertain, swirling chaotically. And just like that, light surged through the dark. The object in Leo's hand radiated a brilliant glow, cutting through the oppressive air around them. Whispers of torment turned into howls of anguish, fading under the strength of the light. "Mama, I don't want to be alone." Leo's voice trembled again, and for a moment that spark flickered, threatening to dim. "You're not alone, not while I breathe." Carla's voice rang true now, powerful against the nightmarish sounds. But she knew this was only temporary. In a surge of desperation, she reached for him again, fighting against the pull of the insatiable shadows coiling around her. She could feel her heartbeat in her temples, each throb a frantic plea for strength. "Embrace it, Leo! Let it take you!" Mr. Carter sneered, his mirage flickering with malice. "You can be one with the darkness. It offers freedom." "No!" Carla screamed, her resolve hardening like steel, coursing through her veins. "Fight it! We're stronger together!" In that moment, everything felt like it hung in the balance. Their fates intertwined, yet divided by a chasm of shadow and despair. The dark figure lunged forward, tendrils flashing like lightning, but Carla stood firm. And just then, the glow suddenly flared bright enough to illuminate the entirety of the room, a harsh light casting out shadows and revealing all unspoken fears. But at the edge of this brilliance, an ominous silhouette stood, looming and watching. It grinned, revealing ghostly features, eyes glinting like knives. And in that heartbeat, she glimpsed a figure she never thought would come. A familiar face twisted by shadows. "Help us," Leo whispered, wide-faced and frightened, as the darkness began to swirl violently around them once more. Who was this new figure? Could they truly be trusted, or was this another manipulation from the shadows? The room echoed with uncertainty as Carla felt the weight of the emerging threat begin to encircle them once again. What waited for them in that encroaching madness? Would they succumb to the darkness, or could they rise beneath its weight? The light pulsed like a frantic heartbeat, fighting against the encroaching shadows. Carla could see the figure more clearly now. It wavered like a candle in the wind, its shape shifting, struggling to define itself. As the darkness swirled violently around them, she saw familiar contours, a hint of maternal warmth mixed with something sinister. "Help us," Leo repeated, his voice frail, nearly swallowed by the dark whispers surrounding them. "Who are you?" Carla shouted over the chaos, her voice trembling. She needed to know if this was salvation or another trap. The pressure of the shadows tightened around her, and the figure jerked forward, revealing a face that echoed memories, a ghost from her past, draped in the cloak of despair. "It's me, Carla. It's Kate." The voice was soft, eerily tender. "Kate?" Carla whispered, hope mingling with unease. "Is it really you? But how?" "Embrace the darkness together. It is your only way out," Kate urged, her eyes glimmering with the same tantalizing light that radiated from Leo's object. "I can help you." The shadows writhed with renewed vigor, echoing the sinister whispers. "Let her in, Carla. Let her take—"
"You." Mr. Carter's voice oozed through the thickening void, seductive like poison. "No!" Carla cried out, shaking her head violently. "You're not real. You're one of them." "Mama, please." Leo's small voice trembled against the backdrop of chaos. "I want to believe her." "Leo, listen to me." Carla's heart raced. "This isn't Kate. This is a trick." But the shadows began to merge with the light, creating an unsettling dance that left Carla off balance. Familiar laughter echoed, and shadows of her childhood played out before her. Dreams twisted into nightmares, both beautiful and horrifying. "Carla, I am trapped just like you." Kate's voice shook with urgency. "I need your strength. Together we can break free." Just as Carla felt a flicker of temptation, the air shifted again. A whirlwind of shadows spiraled, clawing at her skin, her thoughts. "Give in," they hissed. "What harm is there in seeking comfort?" "No, we are stronger than this," Carla screamed, pushing back, channeling the power of her love for Leo.
The glow in his hands pulsed brighter, and for a moment she felt the warmth of protection envelop them. But the shadows fought back, surging forward, tendrils reaching hungrily. "You will never escape without sacrifice," they lashed at her, snarling like animals. "Mama, I'm holding on!" Leo's voice cracked under the strain. His small body trembled with the effort, the object flickering like a dying star. In that chaos, Carla felt the walls of her memories pressing in. Screams from her past echoed in this abyss, creating an unbearable cacophony. "Let her in, Carla! Let us unite!" Kate's face twisted, eyes pleading, and in that moment doubt crept into Carla's heart. What if this was their only chance? "Mama, I don't want to lose you!" Leo's fear shattered the moment, and suddenly Carla was torn between two worlds, one of love and one of dark seduction. "Choose!" they shouted, their voices melding into one sinister roar. "Choose before it's too late!" Then the glow sputtered, the brilliance dimming as the shadows advanced. A pulse of darkness gripped Leo, making him scream. Carla's heart thundered in her ears, the weight of the decision crushing. How long could they resist? Could she trust a face from the past, or would it lead them all into a deeper nightmare? The darkness loomed, breathing down their necks, as Carla felt the chill of despair creeping in. "Mama!" Leo cried, tears streaming down his cheeks. With everything hanging in the balance, time stood still. The shadows reached hungrily for her, a swirling mass of horrors. And just before the darkness engulfed them complete, a chilling laugh resonated through the void. "Will you embrace your true fate, Carla?" What lay ahead was a terrifying unknown, and the shadows waited with bated breath. What were they truly fighting against? What dangers lurked behind every corner in this darkness? Darkness thickened, wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. Carla felt her pulse quicken, each beat
Trusting in her ears, drowning everything else. The shadows twisted and turned, tormenting her with their whispers. "Trust her, Carla. She wants to save you." "No!" The word tore from her throat, a desperate plea. "Leo, hold on to me." She extended her hand, feeling the warmth from her son as he clutched the glowing object. They had to resist. "Mama, I don't want to let go," Leo cried, the tremor in his voice slicing through her resolve. He looked at her with those big, innocent eyes, filled with a mixture of trust and fear. She couldn't let him down, not now. The flickering glow in Leo's hands pulsed harder, like a heartbeat synchronized with Carla's desperation. She faced the apparition of Kate, her sister's face shifting, growing distorted, beautiful yet terrifying in the dim light. "Together, we'll find the way out. Just let me in." The shadows wailed, an anguished choir surrounding them. Carla could feel their icy fingers grazing her skin, probing her mind, wrapping around her memories, trying to pull her back. They whispered her darkest secrets, dredged up grief she thought long buried. "Embrace your sister. Embrace your pain." "Shut up," she screamed. The fabric of her resolve threatened to tear. They were fighting against a storm of despair, teetering over a precipice, with the only choices being a glimmer of hope and a plunge into the darkness. "Mama, the light is fading!" Leo's voice cracked again, a note of panic that sent a spear of fear through Carla's heart. "Keep holding on," she urged, pulling him tighter. She needed to think. She remembered something, her mother's warning about shadows. "They thrive on doubts, Leo. They feed on us losing hope."
But as she looked back at Kate, the soft echoes of their childhood filled her head. Memories of laughter, now twisted into mocking mockery. You can't resist forever, Carla. You're just prolonging the inevitable. Stop! Just stop! She felt the shadows pushing harder, their breath hot on her neck. She turned, clutching Leo's trembling hand. We can't let her in. But the instant doubt settled in her mind, it crackled like electricity. Shadows flicked around her in violent bursts. Leo, what if there's no way out? Mama, please! She bit her lip, clenched her jaw. The object pulsed, brightening again. A flicker of hope. Could it be enough? She needed to believe. But the shadows lunged forward with renewed vigor, roaring with anger. Join us, they bellowed, intertwining with Kate's pleading form. Time slowed as Carla's heart raced. This wasn't just about her. Leo, listen, she exclaimed, desperation etched across her face. We are stronger than this darkness. We can fight. But how long could they hold out? The pressure was so thick, it was suffocating. The shadows hissed, twisting their words. It's futile. Think of your sister. She will free you. A choice loomed, dark and heavy. Mama, I'm scared. What if? Don't. No what ifs right now, Carla shouted, holding her breath. We must believe. We must trust the light. In that very moment, the chilling laughter echoed again, mocking them, an ominous reminder of the malicious presence watching. Your will is breaking, Carla. The shadows twisted, a final surge of darkness coiling around them. What will you do? Heart racing, breath quickening, Carla felt the flicker of light about to go out. Could they survive, or would the shadows succeed in claiming them both? As darkness reached for their throats, desperate breaths echoed. There was no way to know what awaited them on the other side. Would they find their escape, or plunge deeper into the abyss? As everything suspended in the balance, the shrill laughter erupted one last time, echoing against the walls of despair, illuminating the way forward with uncertainty. What lay beyond the darkness? What horrors awaited them next? The shadows closed in, a thick blanket of terror that wrapped around Carla and Leo. Every breath felt like pulling against a weight that threatened to crush them. The moment hung, suspended in fear, before everything exploded into chaos. "Leo, hold my hand!" Carla yelled, her voice barely a whisper beneath the howling shadows. The light from the object flickered madly, a heartbeat echoing their desperation. But Leo, pale and wide-eyed, appeared to be drifting further away, entranced by the vision of his Aunt Kate. "Mama, I can see her. She's so close." Leo's grip faltered, his small fingers slipping. Terror sliced through Carla. "No, Leo, listen to me." Her voice was raw, trembling as she fought against the horror encroaching. "She's not who you think she is. Don't trust them." The shadows hissed in response, their wails mingling with the last moments of childhood innocence. "Join us, Leo. We can save you from your mother's sadness." The whispers were sultry, beckoning him towards the horrifying comfort of surrender. "Don't!" Carla's heart pounded against her chest, adrenaline flooding her system. "Stay with me. You have to fight." Suddenly, the light pulsed aggressively, casting elongated shadows that danced maniacally around them. "You must make a choice, Carla." Kate's face twisted with a haunting, crooked smile. She stepped closer, her eyes glimmering with malice. "Wouldn't it be easier to let go? Embrace me and save your son." The fabric of the world around Carla distorted further, melting shadows swirling into grotesque shapes, mocking the very essence of what family meant. Rage ignited within her. "No, we won't let you take him." Love and fear intertwined, weaving through her every thought. She had lost so much already, she could not lose her son. With a sudden surge of determination, she pulled Leo closer. "Together, Leo, we can do this. Remember the light, the warmth of our home." He blinked, a flicker of recognition sparking behind his frightened eyes. "Mama, the light, it's getting brighter." As if sensing their unity, the shadows writhed with anger. "Fools, you think you can defy us?" A deafening roar erupted, shaking the very ground beneath them. The shadows morphed into tendrils, gripping her like shackles, dragging them towards the spectral vision of Kate. Carla screamed as the darkness swelled with vengeful force, threatening to tear through her resolve. But she felt the warmth of Leo's small hand, a powerful lifeline pulling her back to reality. "Don't let go!" she shouted, the words tearing from her throat as she reached deep within herself for strength she didn't know she possessed. "Remember the day we went to the park. Remember the swings. That's our world, Leo, not this nightmare." With each recollection, the grip of darkness faltered, shadows recoiling from their combined strength. Kate's voice turned frantic. "No, you're stronger when you give in. Let us take the pain. Let me help you." Carla closed her eyes, sealing those haunting memories away, focusing instead on Leo. "We're going home." A fierce light surged from the object, radiating outwards against the encroaching darkness, fighting back against the anguish threatening to overwhelm them. In that moment, something shifted. The shadows screeched in a fury, beginning to disintegrate under the force of their united will. Kate's voice turned frantic. "No, you're stronger when you give in. Let us take the pain. Let me help you." Carla closed her eyes, sealing those haunting memories away, focusing instead on Leo. "We're going home." A fierce light surged from the object, radiating outwards against the encroaching darkness, fighting back against the anguish threatening to overwhelm them. In that moment, something shifted. The shadows screeched in a fury, beginning to disintegrate under the force of their united will. But just as hope surged anew, the ground beneath them cracked, a deep chasm opening up with a deafening roar. Carla's heart stopped, fear rushing back when Leo cried out, "Mama!" "No, hold on!" she screamed, reaching for him, desperation flooding her system. As the last of the light flickered, an icy hand gripped her heart, squeezing tightly. They were plummeting, but the question loomed larger than ever. Could they break free from the entanglement of darkness, or would the abyss swallow them whole? In the haunting silence that followed, a strange, familiar voice echoed through the void. "Let the shadows guide you." What would that voice demand of them? Would they dare to listen? The world around them spun, colors bleeding into one another. The chasm enveloped them, an endless tunnel echoing with the whispers of lost souls. Carla's heart raced, pounding like a drum signaling the end. Each second stretched painfully as she clung to Leo, fear anchoring them both. "Mama!" His voice was strained, reverberating through the void, mingling with the mocking laughter of shadows. The light, their only beacon, flickered as if gasping for breath, the darkness hungry for the warmth of their souls. "Stay with me, Leo!" Panic surged through Carla like ice coursing in her veins. She pulled him closer, the terror of losing him igniting a primal instinct within her. Suddenly, the air thickened, a palpable weight pressing against their chests. "Let it go, Carla," whispered a voice, smooth, seductive. It oozed from the shadows, wrapping around her like a lover's embrace. "You don't have to fight anymore. Embrace the darkness." The tantalizing pull was almost too much. Carla hesitated, caught between the seductive call of surrender and the instinct to protect her child. "No, I have to protect him," she screamed, grounding herself in the reality of her own resolve. But the shadows surged, tendrils snaking around her limbs, binding her with a suffocating grip. Despair clawed
at her throat, suffocated cries suppressed by the very darkness she fought against. "Leo, close your eyes. Trust me." She felt Leo's small frame trembling beside her, the shadows dancing dangerously close. "Mama, it hurts," he cried, his voice tinged with fear she wished she could soothe. "Just think of the sun," Carla urged, her own voice now breaking as the shadows shrieked in fury around them. "Think of our home, the smell of fresh cookies, your crayons scattered on the floor. It's all still out there." When she spoke of their bright world, she could almost feel the warmth returning, flickering against the black void. The light pulsed again, stronger and brighter, as if stirred by her relentless hope. "We're not alone," Carla yelled, and the ground trembled in response. "We fight together until it ends." The shadows recoiled, howling in rage and sorrow. In that moment, a glimmer of light erupted before them, expanding, illuminating every corner of the cavernous darkness. The warmth enveloped them, and for an instant it felt like safety. But the voice echoed once more, clawing at their minds. "You think you can escape? I am everywhere. I am family. Your burdens are my treat." The shadows coiled around Leo, wrapping him in their emptiness, a sinister whisper brushing against his cheek. "Let me take away your fears." "No!" Carla screamed, pushing back against the shadows, forcing herself into the heart of the light. "He's not yours!" Suddenly, everything shattered, the ground beneath them quaking violently as the link between them and the shadows frayed and reformed. Carla's vision blurred, as if reality was peeling away, revealing a sickening dimension beyond comprehension. "No, no, no!" She clawed against the darkness, the twisted remnants of a world threatening to unravel. And then it hit, an agonizing realization. If they were to survive, they would have to confront more than the shadows. They needed to face the truth of their fears, buried deep within. Carla's breath caught. The icy grip of realization sank deep into her bones. "Mama, I'm scared," Leo whimpered. She reached out, their hands locking fiercely again, the touch grounding in desperation. "What if we can't escape?" he pleaded, looking up at her, eyes wide and shimmering with tears. In desperation, she clung to the searing light of hope rising within. "We can't think that way. We'll find a way home." But as they tumbled through this nightmarish spiral, a figure appeared, far away, possibly close, waving through the dark. Carla squinted, heart in her throat, as recognition stabbed through her. "Kate?" The name slipped from her lips, heavy with dread. "Come to me, Carla. Remember our family?" The familiar voice resonated against the void, sickly sweet. Would she give in to the darkness, or fight to reclaim the light she held on to? What perilous choice awaited her as the shadows blurred the line of reality? The figure stepped closer, a shiver racing down Carla's spine. The light pulsated, flickering erratically, as if it, too, were uncertain about welcoming this specter back into their lives. "Kate, is that you?" Carla stammered, fighting to keep the tremor from her voice. "Yes, Carla." The voice dripped with honeyed malice. "It's been so long, so very long. I've missed you." The shadows twisted like serpents, their whispers becoming a visceral murmur in Carla's ears, gnawing at her sanity. "Join me. Together we can erase your fears. Let me take him." "No!" Carla shouted, biting back the tide of despair clawing at her throat. "You're not my family. You're a lie." But Kate's image remained impeccable, smiling, beckoning, as though she could hold the darkness at bay. Leo clutched her hand tighter, trembling, not entirely sure who this apparition was, yet sensing the danger lurking in the sweetness of that smile. Carla felt their connection strengthen, wrapping around them like an invisible thread that resisted the consuming shadows. "Mama, what is happening?"
Leo whimpered, confusion marring his innocent features. "Listen to me, buddy. Whatever you see, it's not real," Carla shouted, steeling herself against the darkness that clawed at her mind. The ferocity of her love surged through her like a fire, igniting her strength. "You are stronger than this." With each word she spoke, the shadows hissed louder, a chaotic chorus of anguished cries rising around them. "Fight with me, Leo. You have to remember who you are." The light flickered again, drawing energy from her desperate plea. "We can beat this. We're alive. They're nothing but echoes of the past." The shadows recoiled, but even as they did, the tendrils lashed out again, wrapping around her. "You will pay for rejecting family," they hissed, twined like a noose around her heart. But Leo, buoyed by Carla's fierce determination, squared his tiny shoulders. "I want to find our home. I don't want to be scared anymore, Mama." "Then we fight, together," Carla cried, clutching Leo tighter. With a primal scream, she called upon every ounce of courage she possessed, channeling it into a blinding light that surged from within. The shadows shrieked, their voices twisting with rage, swirling around them as the light blazed like a beacon. Carla felt an immense weight lifting, as if the shadows were being torn apart by the brightness. But just as the darkness began to fray, the figure of Kate extended her hand. "Do you want to reunite, Carla? You know you long for the past, for family." The words were poison-coated, dripping with nostalgia like a poisonous nectar, each syllable attempting to root her in a deceptive yarning. "Stop!" Carla heard herself scream, her voice filled with raw agony, yet emboldened with conviction. "You're not my past. You're a shadow I refuse to follow." For a breathless instant, silence consumed the chasm. Carla and Leo stood bathed in light, the shadows swirling frantically, as if caught in a tempest they could not control. The air crackled with energy, vibrating with the essence of their unwillingness to succumb. Then, as if rebuffing the very notion of despair, the world exploded in an unearthly flash. The light converged into a single blinding point. Carla shielded her eyes, but the warmth enveloped her, wrapping her in strength. The shadows wavered, writhing and twisting, caught in the epicenter of their own chaos. "This isn't over!" they screeched, voices echoing ominously, fading as the light pulsed more brightly, pushing them back into darkness. But as the brilliance settled, Carla's heart raced. What would happen now? Was Kate truly vanquished? Or would she simply await another chance to ensnare them? As the void began to reshape around them again, Carla sensed their journey was far from finished. They were still trapped, at the mercy of the shadows. "Where are we?" Leo's voice trembled, looking around in wide-eyed wonder, the remnants of fear still clinging to him. "I don't know," Carla admitted, dread pooling in her stomach. "But we'll find a way out. We have to, before the darkness finds us again." But as they stepped forward, another figure emerged from the haze, a silhouette standing tall, obscured by shadows, eyes gleaming with unspeakable intent. "Welcome to my realm," the figure beckoned. What fresh horror awaited them next, and would their bond be enough to withstand the oncoming storm? The figure loomed closer, a silhouette that seemed both familiar and utterly foreign, its features shifting like melting wax. Carla's breath hitched, panic gnawing at the edges of her mind. "Who are you?" she demanded, a mix of anger and fear igniting in her chest. The figure chuckled softly, the sound reverberating around them, deep and menacing. "You know me, Carla. You've been searching for me." The shadows flickered and twisted, almost trying to form a face that bore a haunting resemblance to Kate, yet somehow more sinister, more powerful. "Stay back!" Leo shrank against Carla, his tiny frame trembling in the face of this new terror. Carla's heart raced. every instinct screaming at her to protect her child. "Whatever you are, just leave us alone." "Leave you alone?" The figure's voice took on a taunting pitch. "My dear Carla, the darkness never leaves. It simply hides, waiting for a moment of weakness." The shadows coiled tighter, and for a brief moment, Carla felt her resolve waver. Memories flashed before her, fragments of her past life, echoes of laughter that morphed into cries, faces of loved ones twisted into masks of despair. They pressed against her like the specters of regret, dragging her toward the abyss. "Don't listen to it, Mama!" Leo's voice cut through the haze. "We're stronger than the shadows." With those words, a spark ignited within Carla. She straightened, clutching Leo's hand tighter. "Yes, we are stronger. You can't have us." The figure's eyes gleamed like shards of broken glass. "Oh, but I already do. You and your precious son are but marionettes dancing on strings of your own fear." It raised a hand, and darkness erupted around them. A violent storm of whispered secrets and forgotten memories clawing at their sanity. Carla felt the weight of their previous encounter surged within her. She had pushed back the shadows before, and she could do it again. "We will not be your puppets," she shouted, channeling every ounce of love for Leo into her voice. A blinding light surged from Carla, radiating with the fierce warmth of their bond. "Remember the warmth of the sun, Leo! Remember who you are!" Leo's voice rang clear above the chaos. "I'm brave! I want to be brave!" The shadows hissed, shrieking as they battled against the growing light, their tendrils flailing in desperate fury. The figure paused, its facade momentarily flickering, revealing a glimpse of something that almost looked like fear. But it quickly morphed back, a twisted smile stretching across its face. "You believe in bravery? You think it can save you?" "Yes!" Carla yelled defiantly, feeling the pulse of their collective strength. "Love is stronger than any shadow. We choose to face the darkness." Suddenly, the light burst forth, illuminating the space with a ferocity that gave Carla hope. The figure's amused demeanor faltered as tendrils writhed around it, recoiling from the brilliance. "Foolishness!" it bellowed, its voice slicing through the air, sharp and deadly. "You cannot escape your fate. I'll tear apart your bonds, one by one." The energy crescendoed, a brilliant luminescence, but amidst the chaotic dance of shadows, Carla's breath quickened again. Something was wrong. The shadows were reeling, yet the figure stood defiantly, power radiating from it like a dark sun. "Prepare yourself, Carla," it whispered, its voice now low and almost soothing, as if wrapping her in a shroud. "The real game is just beginning." The air thickened with tension. She and Leo were far from safety. What more did this abomination have in store? What threads of fate awaited them in the depths of its wicked realm? The answer hung in the air like a storm, and as they pressed on toward the unseen void, the darkness gathered around them once more, ominous and impatient. Would their love endure the emerging horrors, or would they fall victim to the insidious games that awaited them? The air crackled with power, a tense pulse between Carla and the sinister figure that loomed before them. Every instinct pushed her to flee, but the grip of Leo's small hand anchored her, grounding her against the rising tide of fear. "We'll face this together," Carla said. She had come too far to back down now. "Together," Leo repeated, finding strength in her words. "Such a cliché sentiment," the figure sneered, shadows twisting around it like vipers. "You don't truly know what together means. The darkness will always be part of you. It will gnaw at your hopes, devour your dreams." A sharp pain knifed through Carla's heart. echoes of brutal memories flashing before her eyes. Failures, losses, everything she had tried to bury. But she pressed on, defiance burning in her chest. No, you're a lie, born of grief and twisted shadows. The love I have for my son is greater than your dark fulfillment. The figure recoiled slightly, surprise flickering across its face. Oh, how quaint! Love is a powerful weapon, but it cuts both ways. It raised its hand, shadows splaying outward like a dark storm, their sinister whispers filling the air, a cacophony of hopelessness. It feeds on your weaknesses. It will tear you apart. Then we'll face that together too, Carla shouted, holding Leo's hand tight. You may think you know our weaknesses, but you don't. What you see as shadows in our hearts, we see as a light to guide us. Love doesn't fade, it grows. That was when a spark ignited in the depths of her being, a swell of fierce energy surging within like a wildfire. Images of laughter with Leo, playing in parks, baking cookies, their small moments stitched together in a tapestry of warmth and connection. We will not yield, she declared, feeling light explode from her core, lighting up the dark. No, the figure howled, twisting as the light engulfed it. This isn't the end. You think you have won, but the shadows, they're just waiting, lingering, resting in your heart. Your fears will always return. Maybe, Carla replied, her voice steady as stone. But every time they come, we'll stand against them. We're not powerless. With Leah beside her, the light cascaded upwards, every shimmering ray creating a barrier through which the shadows struggled to push. As they stood together, Carla's determination consolidated into an unyielding resolve. The shadows swirled violently, shrieking in resistance, but their tendrils began to disappear, pulled away into the growing luminescence. Embrace the darkness, Carla. Let me guide you. The figure lunged, trying to wrap around her, but she felt the warmth encase her tighter. I will not embrace you, she shouted, expelling the darkness. Her love for Leo acted like a shield, a crystalline barrier against the clamoring voices. Tendrils of darkness hissed, retreating under the blinding light. This isn't over. The darkness will return. Then we will be ready, Carla answered fiercely. We will face whatever comes together. With a final, echoing scream from the figure, the shadows shattered, dispersing like smoke in a windstorm. The air began to clear, and Carla and Leo stood in the aftermath, a silence settling heavy around them. Did we really win, Mama? Leo whispered, his wide eyes surveying the remnants of the dark storm. For now, yes, Carla replied, pulling him close. But remember, battles will come and go. We have to be strong, lean on each other, and trust the light we have inside us. In the delicate glow of dawn breaking, a sense of serenity enveloped them. They stepped forward into the light, each step imbuing them with new energy. The shadows whispered faded, mere echoes of a battle that had shown them how powerful their bond truly was. Moments later, they found themselves back in the familiar warmth of their home, sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating everything in brilliant gold.
Echoes of their struggle lingered like a ghost, but Carla held Leo's hand, squeezing as they walked through their door. The world outside felt fresh, the air vibrant with possibility and peace. Together, we will create new memories, she promised, knowing that while darkness would always linger, so would love, hope, and the light they had fought so hard to protect. Together, Leo echoed, a smile spreading on his face. With renewed determination, they stepped into a world eager for their presence. They were ready for whatever came next, armed with the strength of their bond and the light that burned brightly within. As they walked into the promise of a new day, Carla whispered, "We'll keep fighting, Leo. We'll always keep fighting." And with that, they embraced the horizon, ready to build brighter tomorrows. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Together, build brighter tomorrows.